Sports Professor Rick Horrow, $1.3 trillion business of sports. We have a number of sports on the horizon. And clearly everybody in their own way is looking toward the 2028 Olympics. But now in women's sports, ride the wave. That's clearly the way women's soccer is looking. Golf, tennis has always looked. But how about the WNBA? Traci Messier is the VP of Communications and External Affairs for the Atlanta Dream, the only WNBA team in the Southeast. She oversees all communications, basketball, corporate communications important. She served as corporate communications director for the U.S. Soccer Federation, obviously very important. And the tie-in there, too, is Atlanta getting a women's soccer franchise as we speak. She was at Jackson Spalding, a marketing communications company. She was there to work the openings at Truist Park, College Football Hall of Fame, MLS All-Star Game, College Football National Championship, the Super Bowl, Final Four, Tour Championship. Point is, special events really important. But today, the focus is on women's sports and more particularly women's basketball and more particularly the branding of the WNBA, especially heading into the Olympics. Here's Traci Messier. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports. We're on the record. A very interesting intersection. SEICon as well as, and remember, it's a joint sports entertainment innovation conference along with a tremendous regional organization here in Atlanta. And one of the things that they're doing after 2 years of a national Vegas conference is looking for relationships like here at Georgia Tech on a regional basis. This is sports and innovation, tremendous industry leaders here, and Traci Messier, one of the industry leaders. Atlanta Dream, big deal here. She will talk about all of it as VP of Communications and External Affairs for the Atlanta Dream. Traci, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This conference is a hell of a conference, and frankly, it's a great organization, especially the joint venture between the Georgia Innovation Institute and SEICon as well. So what do you think just generally top down about these organizations working together?
Well, we talked a little bit about the connections you can make at things like this, and I know that's a little cliche, like, oh, you go and network, but
well, it's only cliche if you don't make the connection.
Right, but like you do actually meet people who you might want to do business with, or you might hire in the future. So I think it's worth it in that way. And what I'm super interested in, it's not, I was not a techie. I'm on the English and social studies side of studies, where a lot of these kids are the science math folks. But like the partnership between Syracuse University and Georgia Tech to really do some innovative things and do research and come up with just innovative ideas, I think. How cool is that? And they're doing real world things. It's not like they're actually working with teams. They're actually studying, what's happening in fandom. And I think, those are really cool opportunities that, without partnering with a conference like this, they might not get that opportunity to do.
Jackson Spalding, huge PR, corporate communications, U.S. Soccer Federation, Atlanta Dream. You covered it all at the top levels. Sports is so now message dependent because you can go south, NIL, too much payment, empowerment. You can go north, role model, women's sports. Hard job.
There's a lot to take in. I think, we really want to be intentional about what we're saying and why we're saying it. And, that affects everything we do, from the sponsors who might want to or not want to sponsor us, to our fans who are buying tickets, to analysts who might be analyzing our team. And my job is to make sure, no matter who you talk to at the Atlanta Dream, we're all sort of saying the same thing. And I don't mean that in a sort of contrived way. I just want to make sure, does everyone know what our pillars are, what we stand for, and can you talk about that? And do you understand why it's important? And I'm fairly new with the Dream, but my goal would be not only front office can do that, but our coaching staff and our players. And that will be one of my goals moving forward.
Messaging, how much of your message relates to come promote women's sports because it's important to see? and how much of your message is this is damn good entertainment, regardless of whose sex it is.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right on. You're spot on both.
Yeah.
So one of our pillars is to promote women and girls. So doesn't matter what they're doing, we want to promote them. That could be on the court, that could be off the court. So yes, we want to promote women's sports. But man, it's funny. My dad, he's 83 years old. He came to one of our games this season, and he was like, wow, they are really battling under the boards. Like, he's a former high school basketball coach,
And by the way,
knows
they pass the ball,
Yeah.
and they don't
like,
just shoot threes.
Yeah, it's like,
right.
it is some good, hard-hitting basketball, and I think, there's two aspects of sports now. I think there is, you want a good product on the court, on the field, but you also want to have a good product in the stands so that fans are engaged and they're maybe not on a second screen. If we could get you not on a second screen for 2 hours, we have won, right? That's really difficult.
Don't you have isn't there a mandatory give back of the cell phones at the door? And then you get it
Lock
back?
them in the box.
Yeah. I don't think you can do it. You could try.
Ever, not ever.
I don't think you do.
We couldn't find each other where we were sitting. If we
Yeah,
didn't have our
no.
phones, so.
And plus, you wouldn't know how to get home from the arena. You wouldn't know how to. But that's another story for us old people. Clearly, we're now totally dependent. So I'm going to ask it a different way, but I don't feel this way. But just to evoke some thought, aren't you tired of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark?
I am a little bit, because I want to promote Atlanta Dream players, right?
Yeah.
But what they have brought to the
Right.
league cannot be denied.
Yeah.
The league was on a trajectory before they came, but man, the two of them really, and it is because they created this love of college basketball, right? So they brought all these fans with them, right? So maybe you weren't a W fan before, but you watched Caitlin and Angel battle it out on the college
I was
court.
no more known as just tight end you, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, and it's funny because actually my husband's family all went to Iowa. So I've been watching Caitlin since she was in college, and just what she's bringing to the W is really important. More eyes, more sponsors. But I want to also say, like, there are a lot of women who have really cool stories in the W, and let's tell more of them.
On the one hand, your television potential revenues are off the charts, the ESPN deal, everything else. On the other hand, you got to solve the labor issue.
Yep, and thankfully I am not in those rooms.
Yeah, I understand.
But
you're affected by those rooms.
Of course, and I think everyone, both sides, believe the players should be paid more.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out how to get there, and I think it'll get done. I don't think we'll have a labor stoppage. I am knocking on wood right over there. But it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to get this right. It's important for women's sports. As a woman, I want to be paid equally to my male counterparts. I don't think the pay will be equal to the NBA yet.
Right.
But let's get it on a trajectory so that we can get there someday.
Do you, from your perspective, not putting you on the spot or heading the labor negotiations, the messages you get as it relates to the negotiating sessions that come back, I assume you hear on the management side, but you also hear the players. You think there is room for settlement?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. And as we tape this, by the way, although we're going to show it later, the WNBA is still going ahead with the draft, and all of the free agency issues can't be done until CBA. But at least both sides are saying, we got a big goose we don't want to kill.
There's so much positivity and so much growth that I would hate for it to come to a halt, even for a short period of time. So
fingers crossed. And as we're taping this, and we're in Atlanta for this conference, the Women's Soccer League adds a new team in Atlanta for $150 or so million. The Blank Foundation, the Falcons, Mercedes-Benz, that whole network, Atlanta United. It's a great deal. I'm assuming high tide lifts all boats.
For sure. So excited to have the NWSL come to Atlanta, and I think Mr. Blank does everything right here. I mean, if there is one person who has spearheaded the growth of sports in Atlanta, it's him. But also, for those who don't live in Atlanta, the money he gives to this community in other ways. I mean, he just built a children's hospital. I mean, it's just, he's quite a person to admire, and he will do a good job with running a women's team, so that's exciting. We want good owners in all of women's sports.
Are there cynics around Atlanta who feel like this is going to divide the women fan demographic, or is it going to enhance it?
I think enhance it. I think you can be a fan of both. I think you could be a fan of one, but we're a big city. We're the sixth biggest city in the United States. We've got plenty of people to.
And you have a lot more now, because as we're speaking, there's a whole group of people who are stuck at the airport, can't get out of here. So maybe
Yes.
the next couple of months they're all going to live here.
We always have people stuck at the Atlanta airport.
Nothing like now, ladies and gentlemen.
Unfortunately, but again. And it's an easy city to come in and out of, which means we get a lot of tourists.
Yeah.
And both of our seasons are in the summer.
Right.
So the kids are, out of school. So this is a great place to bring a kid, especially a young girl, to see. You could see a women's basketball game and shortly a women's soccer game. I think it's going to be awesome. I think, like I said, Mr. Blank knows how to run a team, and I think he'll do a great job.
And great synergies there. So when you were at Jackson Spalding, you were working on opening of Truist and the College Football Hall of Fame and the MLS All-Star Game and the College National Championship and the Super Bowl 53, the Final Four Tour Championship. What do mega events mean for tourism and economic development to a city like Atlanta, a state like Georgia?
It's huge. I think the money it brings in is important, but the feeling it gives to Atlantans to host things, going all the way back, and I was not here in 1996, but going all the way back to the 96 Olympics, it is a point of pride to say we're a good enough, big enough city to host these major events. I mean, there's nothing like hosting a Super Bowl. Atlanta's hosted, like you said, a college football national championship, the MLS All-Star game, but the Super Bowl is sort of its own sort of crazy being, but it's a point of pride, and the great thing is that around all these events, there are other things happening that everyone in the city can participate in. Because Super Bowl tickets, we all know they're expensive, but also they're very corporate, right? So to get one is tough. So if you couldn't go to the game, there were all these other cool things happening. There was minority business symposiums and ways that minority business could become vendors for the Super Bowl. There was a community project where a park got refurbished for some kids on the west side, right behind the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then there's all these cool fan fests and concerts.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, and I'm not going to tell you what your job's going to be like, but remember, she worked with U.S. Soccer Federation. World Cup is coming up, one of 11 U.S. venues. I'm sure the dream and basketball in some context will be all part of that Atlanta celebration heading into the World Cup.
Yeah, we would love to be a part of it in any way, even if it's just those FIFA World Cup fans, maybe not from another country, but those who are coming here, could they become dream fans? Could we expose them to our sport while they're here? We would love to do that, but it's also just going to be a celebration, and we want to be part of that celebration.
Well, remember, a year and a half later, the women's basketball is part of the Olympics that goes to LA, and all of the people, Wasserman and everybody else will be here. So you all cross, you understand the industry, and your U.S. Soccer Federation will give you a really good idea of how to develop all of that. Where is Traci Messier in 10 years?
I don't know, and I said this on the panel. I feel like I am in a job that I don't know that I ever thought I might have, to be honest. Maybe that I wouldn't, I am running communications for a professional sports team, and that is pretty amazing. Maybe as a New York Yankee fan, I'm from upstate New York, sorry.
No, well, they have money to pay. Yeah. They have money to pay non-performing people, and if you perform, that'll be even better.
So I guess maybe that would be my dream job, but I don't know that I want to move to New York. But as a kid, the Yankees were, my dad was a Mickey Mantle fan, so I had to become a Yankees fan. But maybe that's my dream job. But I don't know that I want to leave Atlanta. I love the weather here.
Yeah.
It's a great city. So I can't answer that question. Which I think I'm gonna let it come to me, whatever might be next.
Well, here's one that might come to you, and here's a disruptor, and she didn't ask me to say this. Jessica Berman. I mean, here you go, right? Women's soccer. There you go. So, bottom line, very important, wonderful opportunity. All these mega events. Traci Messier, thank you very much. Rick Horrow, sports professor. Speak with you soon.